What's happening, guys? Victor here with a brand new video, and I'm here to talk about the main event of UFC 259. Two champions going at it. Someone's gotta lose, someone's going to win. Someone might retain their title, someone might gain another one in another weight class. I'm talking about Israel Adesanya, the undefeated 20-0 Nigerian, versus the legendary Polish power hammer, Jan Blachowicz, with a 27-8 record. Obviously, this is going to be a very interesting matchup. It's going to be a very exciting matchup because both these guys like to put people away. Both these guys like to put on a show for the fans. Both these guys just like to get the job done, which is what we all like to see, which is what we all like to hear. Because both these guys are going in here to put on a statement. Jan Blachowicz is trying to defend his title for the first time. He's also trying to make a statement that the legendary Polish power is real and that it can put out anybody. But Israel Adesanya has something different. He's got that Nigerian precision. The Nigerian precision, which is going to be extremely valuable coming into this fight. Jan Blachowicz has the power. Israel Adesanya has the precision along with the speed. And speed plus precision equals kill. It kills. Speed and precision kills people. And it literally does fatally and literally in life, but also in fights. It can put someone out pretty damn fast. So obviously, this fight will be going down UFC 259 this Saturday night from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. It will be the main event, and Jan Blachowicz will be defending his light heavyweight championship against Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion, who's moving up a weight class to basically grab his second belt in another weight class and become the fifth fighter in UFC history to do so. So obviously, that just adds another piece of intrigue right in there in that whole entire equation, and I just can't wait. Obviously, it's going to be a very interesting fight to see what happens. Is someone going to be knocked out? I say there's about an 80% chance that this fight is going to end via knockout or via submission. Mostly knockout, though. I doubt that it's going to be in the hands of the judges just because these two know that the judges tend to screw up every once in a while, or at least every week, at least with one fight or two fights, maybe even three fights sometimes. So both these guys don't want to leave their hands, their fates in the hands of the judges. So obviously, I'm going to go over the similarities between the both of them. Obviously, Israel Adesanya is 6'3", Jan Blachowicz is 6'2". Israel Adesanya has I forget what the reach advantage is, but it is very, very close. So obviously, both these guys are very close when it comes to the height. They're very close when it comes to the reach. So there's going to be no physical advantages right there. When it comes to the speed, you got to give it to Israel Adesanya. When it comes to the power, you got to give it to Jan Blachowicz. When it comes to the experience, you got to give it to Israel Adesanya because he has over 100 plus combat sports fights in his whole entire career. The mixed martial arts, plus the boxing, plus the kickboxing. Jan Blachowicz has only done mixed martial arts in his whole entire combat sports career. So obviously, the edge when it comes to experience is going to be going to Israel Adesanya. When it comes to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you got to give to Izzy as well. Izzy has almost submitted a couple of guys before in the past, especially Kelvin Gastelum when they fought for that interim UFC middleweight championship of the world. I believe he almost had him with a triangle, almost had him with an armbar as well. So obviously, he knows his stuff on the ground. I believe he got promoted from purple belt to blue belt just recently with his BJJ. So obviously, Izzy's definitely moving up in the world when it comes to his BJJ game. He's going to be moving up to that black belt pretty soon in the near future, maybe 2 or 3 more years, maybe even 4. But Blachowicz, we barely ever see him wrestle at all, which is a huge problem. We did see a little bit of wrestling when it came to his fight against Jimmy Manuwa at the rematch. He was on the floor a little bit with Thiago Santos, but obviously he fell victim to the power that Thiago Santos put on him. And Izzy's no slouch. Obviously, he's going to be going up in weight, so his power will increase a little bit. His precision is absolutely going nowhere. When it comes to fighter IQ, I also have to give it to Israel Adesanya as well, just because of all the fights that he's been in, everything that he's seen. He's basically seen everything that you've had to see in all of mixed martial arts as a whole. And Jan, obviously he's very close when it comes to fight IQ as well, but he has slipped up in the past and he has been KO'd and he has lost a couple of fights in the past as well, especially during the beginning of his career, the beginning of his UFC career as well. Obviously, he dropped a couple of fights. He was in danger of being kicked out of the UFC, but he was able to go on a huge spree and eventually win that title. When it comes to the wrestling, these guys are pretty much tied because they barely do any wrestling at all. So obviously, they're tied with the wrestling right there. And if it does go to the floor, like I said, I'm going to give it to Israel Adesanya, but Jan is a very hard guy to get to the floor to begin with, and he's probably going to be a very hard guy to put down and keep down for a very long period of time, just like Israel Adesanya himself. Israel has been victim to being taken down in the past. Kelvin Gastelum took him down. Marvin Vettori took him down plenty of times and lost a very close fight to Israel Adesanya via split decision. So Israel's takedown defense isn't the best out there, but it's getting better and better and better. And both these fighters, I hope it's not going to be another fight such as Izzy versus Joe Romero, where both these fighters are coming into the fight. They have a lot of power and are looking to put each other away, but both those fighters respect each other so much that they're not going to throw anything at all. It's going to end up being a very boring fight. Just as the recent fight that we had just 2 days ago, which was the Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Cyril Gane fight. Both those fighters respected each other a lot, and they did not throw anything. And a lot of us were expecting for that fight to end via KO pretty darn fast. So will that be another situation that we have here? I don't think so. I believe that both these guys are going to come in here guns blazing. They're going to feel each other out for that first round. And then once the second round kicks in, boom, it's going to be fireworks. So it's going to be a very interesting fight. And like I said, if both these guys really want to win, I believe they were going to need to keep it on the feet. And I believe it's going to stay on the feet until the fight gets stopped via KO, which is what I believe is going to happen. If Israel wants to take it to the ground, then he has that advantage, and he has the ability to be able to submit Jan Blachowicz on the ground. But like I said, there's a very slim possibility of it actually going to the ground. I believe there's going to be a finish. And if you ask me who I believe is going to win this, I'm going to go with Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is just extremely special, and he just reminds me a lot of John Jones, but he reminds me of a better version of John Jones. And he comes from humble beginnings all the way from Nigeria. He's hungry. And Jan Blachowicz as well comes from humble beginnings. He comes from a very small village in the country of Poland, where MMA really isn't that popular right now, and MMA really isn't that popular in Nigeria either, even though there are a couple of Nigerian fighters in the UFC. So you got Sadiq Yusuf, you got the welterweight champion of the world, Kamaru Usman, and you got a couple other Nigerian fighters in there, maybe 4 or 5 total in UFC, but all in all, you don't see that many Nigerian fighters in there. You don't see that many Polish fighters. So both these fighters are doing it not just for them, not just for their families, not just for their economic futures, but they're also doing it for their countries because they want people to be inspired by their performance, and they want to see MMA on the rise in Nigeria and Poland. So I pray to the Lord Almighty that both these fighters want to put on a clinic out there and fight with all their hearts. And if, like I said, I'm going with Israel Adesanya. I believe he's going to get the job done. I believe knockout TKO in round 3. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys buy the pay-per-view because it's one of the most stacked cards out there. I'll be doing more videos on more of these fights later on this week and just a little bit as well. So I appreciate you guys for watching the video again. Take it easy, stay safe, stay blessed. Later.